by Mitre 10.
Well, let's look back on the first hour, and a terrific start from pole sitter Garth Tander, getting away from Russell Ingall there. Reminder, these cars under a full tank of petrol, but the lead cars got away very, very smartly. Tander clear of the race as Paul Radicic took a stop-go for jumping the start, and that cost him a lot of positions. He's made up plenty, though. He's 9th at the moment now. Big Kev, Paul Morris at the wheel. Little touch there with Stephen Ellery. Ellery turned around. Paul was able to get the car back on, but damage caused problems for them later on. Van Zelm's car with problems here. Fire, and that is terminal. Now Tony Longhurst making a move. Ingall and he have staged an absolute war. This was for second. Longhurst has since taken a step further. We'll come back to live action in just a moment. Now Anthony Tratt takes a spin, manages to recover without getting too deep into the kitty litter. This was a little more tough, though. Rodney Forbes. But remarkably, not only did John Faulkner in the Asia Online car get clear, but Forbes did. Terry Finnegan a little later did not. After he left the track, he was well deep. Now Tony Longhurst takes the lead and has kept it ever since from Garth Tander, Russell Ingall, Mark Scape and Stephen Richards. And this is just heartbreaking. Brad and Kim Jones have worked so hard, but their race is over. Let's hope they have better luck in the events ahead. Sandown and, of course, the FAI 1000. But the man on the move there, car 17, tremendous performance. Stephen Johnson and his teammate, Paul Radicic, is now almost joining him. Great work from the Shell Helix team as we're back with live pictures from the Queensland Aussie Male 500.
Paul Radicic is a man on a mission. He's been hooked in here behind Glenn Seaton in the FTR Falcon for a number of laps now, both running in the low 1 minute 12 second bracket, just like our race leader Tony Longhurst. So they're pushing very, very hard as they force their way through lap traffic. Tony Longhurst still leading this one. Garth Tander only half a second behind. This is the battle for 8th position. And Paul Radicic has done a remarkable job fighting back through the field here. Stephen Ellery is back in 13th. Oh, look how close it is here. He gets up the inside. Glenn Seaton gives him racing room, and Radicic takes another spot.
You've got to ask the question, how much longer can he keep this pace up? Radicic is really on the attack. Tander now with a quick one, a 1:11.69.
That's the fastest lap of the race. He just undercut Paul Radicic's quickest time, so it's coming down all the time. 1:11.69 on lap 45.
That's
so the
incredible.
pace, well, people were expecting to run in the mid-12s to 13s. This is an incredible pace here.
Stephen Ellery, who you're talking about before, Mark, has clawed his way up to 13th as well. So the super cheap auto Ford, we heard from him prior to the start of this race. He dropped back, don't forget, to 33rd position. He is now up into 13th. That is a remarkable performance.
It's like he's threaded his way through the traffic with Radicic. There's our race leader, Tony Longhurst. What an incredible season he's having, particularly toward the end of this season. He's joined up with Stone Brothers at the beginning of the year. And the 43-year-old has had an outstanding run so far, 7th in the points. And this rival of David Bernard, his 23-year-old teammate, he even admits himself has lifted his game. He's pushing really, really hard. He's loving the competition within the team. And he's doing an outstanding job here, leading the Aussie Male 500.
Gee, it's been a long time between drinks in terms of endurance race victories for Tony Longhurst. Bathurst 88, you've got to cast your mind back to as we take a look on the Shell Helix replay. You ride with Paul Radicic. Look at Seaton there, and that's what cost him, I think.
Yeah.
He's gotten sideways, and Radicic has just launched through.
Under pressure. Gee, it must be hot work in these cars, Kevin Schwantz, in ambient temperatures like this, 50 degrees inside. It must be like working away in an oven.
Yeah, it's really hot out there today, and the heat, when just Paul Morris did 11 laps or something like that, by the time he got out, his driving suit was completely soaked. So it's definitely a physical event out there.
Has it been tough on you going from the endurance of the Safari to jumping into a touring car? That's been quite a taxing couple of weeks for you.
It has been a little bit difficult to get used to the cars compared to, you know, what a bike handle's like on the dirt. But, you know, I think the physical aspect of it, I had to be fit enough to do the Safari that I was pretty good once I got into one of these and started stringing some laps together.
At least you don't have to navigate around here, Kev.
Yeah, reading those roll charts off of those while you're trying to ride a bike down a little narrow trail with termite mounds and all kinds of stuff around you, it's definitely easier knowing where the pavement goes and not having but about 4 or 5 kilometers to make it around.
Here's a man on the charge. Stephen Ellery, the Super Cheap Autos Ford, continues his march through the field. He is flying. 1:12.44 previous time around. He's up behind Paul Wheel, who's currently 12th on the road. So if he continues this march, the Super Cheap car could be inside the top 10 before we go through our first stops. It's lap 49. So 50, lap 50, our race lead has just started. So that window is open for the compulsory pad change. So this is going to be a critical time in the race. All these teams will be looking for a safety car pretty soon.
Marvellous performance from 2 young guns in Fords here. 21-year-old Paul Wheel only turned 21 a couple of weeks ago in the K&J Ford. Car 6 is in. So here we go, the first of the big guns in for a pit stop.
Dean Canto.
Yep.
And Neil Bates, second of the Ford Credit Racing Falcons. Grant Denyer is on the spot. Let's see if they go for a pad change. Grant.
It's just going to be fuel and tyres at this stage, guys. They've got the pad sitting by. We'll have to wait and see. But Dean Canto's getting in, the young V8 Lights champion, only recently crowned at Malala, and he is pumped to get in and replace Neil Bates. Of course, Dean won't be driving at Bathurst. Wayne Gardner will take over that seat then, but he is very excited about this opportunity. Just tyres and fuel at this stage. There is also a problem with the fuel pressure with this car, so they're going to have to top up the oil as well. So there is one slight concern with this car.
There are the boys topping up the oil in the catch tank system. Maybe losing a bit of oil out there. Always better off having a little bit too much than not enough. So they're just checking they've got the right fluids. This is going to cost them a lot of time. You can see on the Walker pit stop clock at the bottom of your screen there. This is getting up towards a minute, and this is, you cannot afford to drop this amount of time. Mark Larkham in 2. The Mitre 10 Falcon is in pit lane. So they're all starting to come in. That was a critical time. Mark Larkham looks like he's staying in the car. Oh, hang on. What's going on here?
Yeah, something's happening here because Jeff Brabham is on standby. The boys are underneath the car looking all over it.
Oh, no, he's out. We heard that he was limping around, coming into the pits very slowly. Looks like a terminal problem here for the Mitre 10 Ford. Goodness me. Are they starting to fall? We've seen Brad Jones go out. Barry Jones, what's going on? Barry, what's going on?
I don't know. I'm just trying to see some of the guys. They all look a bit major disappointed at the moment. Gearbox problems, I think. Let's have a look in. Yeah, it's gear selector problems. I'll try and have a word with Mark if I can.
Rotten luck there for Mark Larkham. The highs and lows of motorsport. Can you believe it? The crash at Oran Park, the rebuild, came back for that victory in the second race at Calder Park, and now he is out of what I guess you could call his big home event here in Queensland.
Oh, it must be a crushing disappointment. When you've had a build-up like that, the team's been very confident, the car running very well. And you've been in that team environment many times, Kevin Schwantz. It must be terrible disappointment for all the boys involved.
It really is. You feel so bad when something happens, and either on a motorcycle when you crashed it or something happens mechanically to it, to come back into the pits and have to look at the guys and say, oh, it was my mistake, or, you know, if it was a mechanical problem for the team. Everybody really is hard on themselves at this level, and you know, just want to do the best they can.
John Bowers out of the Caterpillar Ford, multiple Australian touring car champion and Bathurst winner Jimmy Richards back behind the wheel. We hear that Dean Canto and Neil Bates are out of this one. Let's go to Grant for an update.
I'm down here with Neil Bates. Neil, you came and you swapped over to Dean Canto somewhere around in 15th position, but the car has now been retired. What's the problem?
It's got a split heat exchanger, and it's losing oil, and it's going over the tyres, and the oil pressure gauge was getting lower and lower, and if we kept going, we would have lost an engine. So very disappointing, but, you know, as they say, that's motor racing.
Do you think we could be seeing this happen to other cars? Is this particularly punishing out there at the moment?
You know, where I was, there was a lot of people going off the track and a lot of debris, and, you know, I'm not exactly sure where it's situated, but that would be the most likely cause because it sits on the bottom of the radiator, and I'd say it's more than likely got a stone through it.
And Dean Canto, how do you feel? You get in the car only to have it shut down, you have to get back out again.
Yeah, well, I didn't raise a sweat. Yeah, it's a pretty easy stint. It's just the way it goes, unfortunately. You know, the offer was there for the drive, and I was grateful for that, but it's just the way it goes.
All that great food and pasta you've been eating all week just to prepare for this one, and it's all to no fruition.
Yeah, oh well, you know, there's always next time or next year, you know. It's just the way it is.
All right, hard luck. Thanks.
Yeah, that would be a major disappointment for Dean Canto, the Konica V8 Lights champion this year. And as a result of his great performances there, he got the drive with FTR. Didn't even get a chance to put a lap in anger in the race. This man is pushing hard. A new fastest lap for the race, a 1:11.61 for Tony Longhurst on lap 50. And this would be defying all the pre-race predictions. You walk up and down pit lane, everyone was predicting anywhere from mid-12s to 13s. Tony Longhurst has blown that theory out of the water. He is pushing really hard.
We are only at 1/3 race distance, and he is setting this unbelievable pace. Tony Longhurst, you've got to be happy at this point in time, I guess, for the Stone Brothers team. You've got to cast your mind back to Hidden Valley last year when Jason Bright brought the Pertec Ford home for a win for their last sort of moment of glory, Stone Brothers. But right now, looking good for Tony Longhurst. Here's the Rat continuing his way up the order. In position 6 at the moment. I should say a very quick thank you as well to Kevin Schwantz. Thank you very much for your time, mate, and hard luck. It didn't pan out for you at the Queensland 500. Hopefully we'll see you back behind the wheel of a supercar soon.
Thanks a lot, guys.
There he is, Kevin Schwantz.
So, speaking of outstanding speed, Paul Radisich, that car on screen now, car 18 continues his march. He's now up to 6th place in this race. 53 laps completed, a 1:12.23. So this is an outstanding fight back from Paul Radisich after a stop-go penalty for a jump start early in the race. He has really put in an outstanding drive here. Right back into the thick of things.
Jimmy Richards just holding him out at the moment in the Caterpillar Ford. You can see Stephen Johnson as well, not too far adrift there, but this is a marvellous performance from Paul Radisich. Dual World Cup Touring Car champion, spent many years in the British Championship driving for Ford in a Mondeo. Spent a couple of years also driving for Peugeot. And came out here and joined the Dick Johnson Racing team.
He is one of the toughest guys in the business, very small in stature. But when he gets in that car, he is a giant of a driver. Phenomenal speed, very, very aggressive. And he's done very well in the championship this year. Currently 5th, 815 points. And it hasn't gone his way. Has stood on the podium a couple of times, but it's been a very tough year for Paul Radisich. He'd love to finish the year on a high note with a victory in either the Queensland 500. Here is our 2nd place man, Garth Tander, bringing it down pit lane, the Valvoline Cummins Commodore. 54 laps completed. Let's go down to Grant Denyer.
This is a stop for everything. They're going to do fuel, tyres and brake pads. Should take around 35 seconds, they seem to think. Bargs goes in. You can see him slip in the dicky seat then. That should move him about 1 foot closer to the steering wheel. Of course, Garth is so tall. They've got a bit of a compromise for this position. Garth is a little bit closer than he would like. Bargs is a little bit further back, but that's what you've got to do in these endurance races to get through. And then we've got a problem with the fuel here. It hasn't quite closed. There's fuel dripping out everybody. The fuel attendant can't stop it. Hopefully it doesn't hit the exhaust.
Well, it's a dry brake system. It's a vent bottle there. It doesn't look like it's sealing. They've still got fuel coming out of there. Hopefully there won't be... Oh, so lucky. Everyone was holding their breath there, hoping we weren't going to get a repeat of the John Bowe disaster from last year. Fuel spilling all over the track. Hopefully that vent valve has sealed itself, because if not, they'll bring him back in to get it fixed.
Kept pushing at the guy working the fuel, didn't he? Hoping that it would come back and reseal. Let's hope that that's happened. It doesn't look like it's leaking at the moment. Oh, difficult to tell, though.
Well, they'll keep an eye on that. If fuel starts spraying out of that vent, they'll bring them in quick, smart. So hopefully he was able to cure that problem under a lot of pressure. So I'm not sure if that cost them any time while they were trying to fix that drama. But pads changed, new tyres, fuel in, driver change. Here comes car 4. Craig Baird in 9th place, so they're all starting to file in now. 56 laps completed by our race leader, Tony Longhurst. When will he come in?
We hear the 2nd of the Castrol Commodores has been in as well. Christian Murchison out, Luke Youlden in. Young Formula Holden champion, backed up last year's victory with another one. Very recently, Simon Wills has been driving for Barana Racing, the talented Kiwi. This is an all Kiwi outfit when you consider that it's being run by the Stone Brothers. Craig Baird is out and Simon Wills in.
Good indication too. I think Tony Longhurst will probably be in very soon now. They're going to get one car out of the way. And we've got a problem here. People yelling out. 35 seconds gone. What's going on here? Paul Sepranich, the chief engineer there. No, looks like they had to push the car backwards. And now Simon Wills has stalled it. So that was a fairly clumsy stop from the Stone brothers. Here's our race leader, Tony Longhurst. Change over to David Bernard getting in. His baptism of fire in the Shell Championship Series. Walker pit stop clock tells the story. We'll keep an eye on this. Not sure if they're changing brake pads. Looks like they may be. There's plenty of frenzied activity going down in pit lane. David Bernard, the 23-year-old, returning from competition in the United States to fulfill a multi-year contract with the Stone Brothers team. And this is his first shot in anger in the Shell Series. Outstanding in the V8 Lights Championship. And now his big chance. 31 seconds. That was better.
In the meantime, Russell Ingall and Mark Scaife have stayed out. So Ingall now leads the way. Paul Radisich, because the pit stops are underway, has moved up into third position. There is Jason Bargwanna back out on the track. So trying to get confirmation of track position here for you. So they sweep their way around the Queensland Raceway. He's been one of the stories of this race. Paul Wheel and Greg Crick is a big age difference between those guys. Just 21 years of age, young Paul Wheel, and 45 for the Tasmanian. Multiple Targa Tasmania winner Greg Crick, but they bring him back every year and bolt him in the K&J Ford, and he's immediately quick.
Yeah, he's an outstanding performer, the Tasmanian veteran. Here's Jason Bargwanna now getting into the groove. So he takes over the Valvoline Cummins Commodore. Looks like they've managed to secure that vent bottle valve. So unfortunately, they won't be brought in for that reason. But that was a very, very dicey moment when you got fuel tipping onto the pit apron there with red-hot exhausts, red-hot brakes sitting around. You saw last year John Bowles' car ignite. Here's the Kmart Commodore, Stephen Richards and Greg Murphy. Stephen had a very slow lap for this one. Here they go. Pit, looks like pad change taking place. Yep. But they've decided to do everything as well on this first stop. 58 laps completed by our race leader Russell Ingall, who is yet to pit. Mark Scaife in second, and Paul Radisich now. Can you believe it? He's up to third place.
Fantastic performance. The Kmart team are normally very slick with their stops. This seems to be taking a little longer, though. And Greg Murphy exits pit lane. Now, when you're keeping an eye on all the frantic activity that's been going on in the pits over the last few laps, David Bernard, when he went back out, courtesy of that brilliant stop by the Stone Brothers, has managed to get out one position ahead of Jason Bargwanna. So at the moment, Bernard is in 9th, Bargwanna is in 10th.
And all the cars in front are yet to make their stops. So David Bernard effectively is Stephen Richards. Now this is the reason for that slow lap we spoke about before. Obviously, he's had a spin. It's cost him a couple of positions. Not sure what happened there. Here comes Neil Crompton changing over with Glenn Seaton. They're all in, all the big guns. Mark Scaife now is your race leader, but he'll be into the pits fairly soon, I'd imagine. Paul Radisich, Stephen Johnson. Russell Ingall has pitted. The Castrol Commodore's in as well. John Faulkner, the Asia Online car, is also headed down pit lane. I'm sure Mark Scaife's first stop won't be far away. 59 laps completed. There it is, the Castrol Commodore. Pad change taking place. Looks like they're being very difficult to remove. These giant pliers they put in there to try and push those hydraulic pistons back to get those pads out. Can be a very dicey time for the pit crews if they don't get that perfectly timed. Front tyres on. Here's David Bernard. And he's currently 7th on the track.
Look at Bargwanna.
But by the time we get this overlap of pit stops, this will be our race leader, I'd say. Jason Bargwanna will be in second. So, very exciting moment as these pit stops start to unfold. Russell Ingall just pitted to get Larry Perkins back in the car. Mark Scaife, though, is our race leader. It's all happening here. But keep your eyes on this Caltex Haviland Ford. David Bernard with Jason Bargwanna right up his rear bumper. Tremendous battle here amongst the young guns. Bargwanna has a look up the inside. Bernard gives him racing room. Bargwanna sneaks back inside.
Bernard probably just playing it safe at this point in time. Scaife is yet to pit in the Mobile Holden Racing Team Commodore. He leads the way from Radisich. Nathan Pretty, who is in the second of the Holden Racing Team Commodores.
Oh, there's fuel coming out.
Something out of, yeah.
Now, that's what I was talking about when the vent bottle valve Well, the infill valve for the dry brake system gets stuck. You can see that fuel mist pouring out the back of that 17 car. If that continues, the officials will bring them in. It's considered pretty dangerous when you've got fuel. Here it is, car 1. Mark Scaife and Paul Radisich coming in as well.
This could be quite a crucial stop for Paul Radisich when you consider that Stephen Johnson is out there cruising around with that problem. So we could have a real pit stop pandemonium scenario for the Dick Johnson racing team. McLean gets in and straps on the belts, the former Privateers champion. Radisich is already out. Lowndes getting strapped into the #1 Mobile Holden Racing Team Commodore. A pad change going on here as well. Scaife is out after a brilliant stint.
Saw the team practicing this yesterday. They went over and over and over. This team works very hard. They're like military grade in terms of their precision. Here comes Cameron McLean. Gets into Shell 18 car. He rejoins the battle.
And they got out just ahead of Craig Lowndes by the looks of things. There you are. Bargwanna sweeps through. Dave Bernard comes through as well. So we're waiting for all these positions to readjust courtesy of that pit stop.
Yeah, well, there's a battle here now. Bernard just sneaks inside in front of Lowndes. Oh, look at that, the car. Caltech's car gets very out of shape coming out of turn 2 as he tries to battle Craig Lowndes. Lowndes very quickly up to speed in car 1. They're going to go hard under brakes at the end of the back straight. They thread the needle inside the slower cars. Lowndes still in control. Bernard, though, wants to argue. They come out of turn 3, fire up toward the midfield section. So great battle here. Mark Scaife.
We'll take a break here from Queensland Raceway. It's all happening. Stay with us at the Aussie Mail 500.
Well, that was the Dick Johnson dilemma. Fuel squirting out of the rear of his car. He's come back into the pits to solve the problem. And that has been an upset for the Johnson & Johnson pairing, who've done very, very well this afternoon in the Queensland Aussie Mail 500. Of course, the star of the show has been Paul Radisich, their teammate in car 18, who handed over to Cameron McLean in a position where they can soon take the lead when Nathan Pretty makes his next pit stop. Just an update that round 12 of the Shell Championship Series will be at Sandown. That's a sprint round. And that is the 8th of October, an unusual situation, but we'll have that sprint round in between the two big Enduros. Here's the other one, the FAI 1000 at Bathurst, which will, of course, crown this amazing series in 2000. And this is how Dick Johnson sorted himself out and is back on the track now. As I mentioned, Pretty is the race leader, but not for long when he makes his pit stop. Cameron McLean in a great position in the other Shell Helix Falcon from Bargwanna, Lowndes. David Bernard in a great dice with Lowndes. Neil Crompton in 6th ahead of Matthew White and Greg Murphy.
An outstanding performance so far. Look at that Nathan Pretty, 66 laps completed by the second of the Holden Racing Team Commodores.
Bit of a turn-up, that wasn't it? Many expected. Todd Kelly, who's done, I guess, a lot more miles this year with the Young Lions car, and that is actually the car they are driving here this weekend. It's been repainted and got the fresh stickers on it for the Mobile Holden Racing Team colours, but it is actually the Young Lions car that they have used this year. But they've stuck Nathan Pretty in there for the opening stint. He's done a marvellous job.
He has. Just looking at our fifth place car on the moment. Caltech's Haviland Ford. Barry Sheens with a very happy Tony Longhurst, I'd imagine.
Tony, that's not so bad, was it?
Yeah, not too bad for an old bloke. Give Garth Tanner something to think about.
But you're flying up the inside of Ingle. Your car looks really good.
Yeah, look, the Caltex Ford, it turns in really well, so you can get into the corners late, turn in and carry the speed into the corners. And just sensational. It's just great.
Did you know it was going to be that good?
Yeah, I did, actually. I didn't want to get out and say to the boys, just leave me in, we'll see if we can lap the field. But David's in there and charging around, so it's going great.
And how's David going? What's he lapping at?
It's just taking a while to settle down, but he seems to be doing a good job. He's in 3rd position. We've had our pad change, so we'll see how we go for the rest of the day.
Best luck, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, he is doing a good job at the moment. He's just done a 1:12.5 as he gears himself up. Race leader Nathan Pretty slipping into the 13s at the moment, but he's still yet to pit. Cameron McLean in the Shell Ford now is in 2nd. Jason Bargwanna in 3rd.
Let's go to Grant Denyer.
When you look at the great battles out there, I don't think you could look past Paul Radisich. Stop-go penalty for jumping the start.
there you have it. You know, I didn't jump the start, but there you go. That's what rules are for, and we'll abide by them. And you know, had to work a little bit harder to come back, and you know, it's great to get up to second before we stopped. And so far, we'll just resume things as normal.
Work harder. You drove the doors off the thing. You've ended up in third when you came in and handed over to Cameron McLean. You must be fairly tired after that stint.
Yeah, I'm definitely in need of a bit of food and a bit of a drink, but I'll be ready to do the last stint of the race after Cameron does you know, his end of the driving.
What sort of shape is the car in, and what can you predict for the remainder of this 500k race?
I'll predict nothing, and our car's running very well. The Shell Helix car, brakes are good, everything's so far. Touch metal is running just fine.
No dramas that we saw of last year?
Well, not at the moment. Let's hope it stays that way.
All right, good luck.
Thanks.
Well, at the moment, McLean doing a good job. A 1:12.25 his last lap around, and here is car 2 just in front of him. Nathan Pretty.
He's really pounced on him, hasn't he? Cameron McLean, the Queenslander. Just at a 1:12.2. They've been lapping much faster than this car. He sweeps through to take the lead of the Aussie Male 500. Cameron McLean. The Shell 18 Ford. Look who's just in close behind him. As they come up the lap traffic, there's Jason Bargwanna and the Valvoline Cummins Commodore. I don't imagine Craig Lowndes and David Bernard will be too far behind, so we've got a gripping battle, an absorbing contest here as these two try and grind each other down. There's Craig Lowndes and David Bernard just behind him. So we've got a tremendous contest here. This is going to be a critical part of the race where the co-drivers are on board. Most of the leading teams have completed their brake pad change. So this is going to be a real battle right down to the wire. Oh, no.
That's the second of the cars. That's the Youlden Murchison car. I dare say that is Luke Youlden at the wheel at the moment in car 8.
I wonder where he's put that off. Well, here comes car 2. Nathan Pretty finally pitting. 69 laps completed. It was an incredible job. Very impressive fuel mileage too by the car 2 and the Holden Racing Team stable. Nathan Pretty has done a very good job for his first run with the team.
When you consider too, Mark, it's his first Shell Championship race, and he's led that race. On debut, we've had Paul Romano go out now. Is that Jamie Brock at the wheel there at the moment, I wonder? Indeed it is. So Brock has found the kitty litter.
We've got a safety car coming out on the track. Didn't have to be a crystal ball gazer to tell that one. There's 2 cars sitting off in the kitty litter, very much buried. They're going to have to bring the safety car out, get the tractor out there, pull them out. So we've got another safety car period. Dick Johnson, well, looks like those problems with the Shell Ford are terminal. Let's go to Grant Denyer.
One of the bloody O-rings fell out or something.
Grant?
Oh, really? Oh, here we are. We're down here with Dick Johnson. The car has been put away. Dick, it rolled to a stop there. I know there was a drama with getting the fuel in the car. Has that got something to do with it?
No, we didn't have any trouble with the fuel. The fact was that the engine's just stopped, you know, so just like every other time, you know, goodbye cruel world.
Oh dear, how's that? I saw some fuel when the fuel was going in. One of the valves wouldn't quite shut. There was a bit of fuel coming out of it.
Didn't quite shut, and that's the sort of thing you get in this sort of racing. One little O-ring just to screw the whole deal up.
You're disappointed. One race you come back for, and to have it end this way.
Well, you know, what do? You know, I've been around this deal for a long, long time, and you know, to sort of end it like this is a bit of a shame.
What about the other car and Paul Radisich? Is he in good shape?
Well, obviously there's a pace car out there at the moment, and that's why they're in doing their brake pads, and hopefully that'll help towards the end of the race.
What a shame. Thank you.
So Cameron McLean takes advantage of that safety car period to get his pad change out of the way. That'll be a nice situation for the Shell team. You never want to do a pad change under green flag racing conditions. You lose too much time. Let's have a look at the Shell Helix replay. K&J thermal car. No, it's behind him. This is the Romano Brock accident. Jamie Brock at the wheel, and he's bogged it. So just one of the cars is the Murchison Youlden Castrol Commodore.
Parking lot down there, isn't it?
First one into the sand. Brock soon after, and really they cannot afford to leave those wrecks sitting out in that area. Very fast part of the course. If a car came unstuck there, it could be a serious accident.
It's all happening here at the Aussie Male 500. The safety car back out on the circuit. Bargwanna leading the way from Lowndes. Bernard, a sensational performance on debut in the Shell Championship Series. He sits in third. Crompton well poised in fourth. We go further back. The Rat sits in sixth. Ellery, a sensational performance, seventh. And John Bowe, Jimmy Richards at the wheel of the Cat Ford in eighth.
Baird and Wills are in ninth. Perkins and Ingle round out the top 10. Faulkner and Adam Macro. That's a good performance from the Team Asia Online squad. Ritter and Lay, Kelly and Pretty. We just saw them pit. Matt Wyhern 1 lap down, but well up in the order.
The clean-up continues here at Queensland. We'll take a break and come back at the Aussie Mail 500. Just a few moments.